This lecture is the introduction to Spiritism. First, I want to give you good news and next, bad news. First, the good news. You are immortal. Your spirit will live forever. You will experience life after life in a quest to perfect yourself. You have a mission, the most important mission possible, to improve, to love, to be charitable, to be part of a grand plan, not only to raise yourself, but your neighbors and the entire human race. Now the bad news. For every wrong you commit, you will have to pay for it, in this life or the next. And the trials you are experiencing now are the results of errors you have committed in the past, plus a splattering of coursework that you have been assigned. How do we know all of this? Well, Jesus said, "If you love me, keep my commands, and I'll ask the Father, and he will give you another consoler to help you and be with you forever. The Spirit of truth. The world cannot accept him because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you." This is in the New Testament, John 14:15 to 17. Another verse from the New Testament, John 14, number 26. "But the Consoler, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will remind you of everything I have said to you." So, what did the Consoler actually do? What did he contribute? Spiritism states that Allan Kardec was the codifier, who presented the Spirit of Truth, the Consoler, and that in the 5 books that Allan Kardec assembled, he revealed the extent of the spirit world. Who is God and Jesus? Why are we here on earth? How should we live, and the doctrine to follow? That is all. The answers to questions that every one of us has spent nights pondering. Allan Kardec, who is he? Well, to start at the beginning, because that is the logical place, Allan Kardec is the pen name of the French teacher and educator Hippolyte Léon Desinard Rival. He was born in Lyon, October 3rd, 1804, and he died in Paris on March 31st, 1869. In Wikipedia describes his early life. Rival was born in Lyon in 1804. He was raised as a Catholic. He was a disciple and collaborator of Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi and a teacher of mathematics, physics, chemistry, astronomy, physiology, comparative anatomy, and French in Paris. For one of his research papers, he was inducted in 1831 into the Royal Academy of Arras. He organized and taught free courses for the underprivileged. Allan Kardec was 51 years old when he first encountered spirits. Anna Blackwell, who translated his books into English in 1881, describes his first encounters and what set him off into his journey. When, about 1850, the phenomena of table turning was exciting the attention of Europe and ushering in the other phenomena, since known as spiritists, he quickly divined the real nature of those phenomena as evidence of the existence of an order of relationships hereto though suspected rather than known, namely those which unite the visible and invisible worlds. Foreseeing the vast importance to science and to religion of such an extension of the field of human observation, he entered at once upon a careful investigation of the new phenomena. A friend of his had 2 daughters who had become what are now called mediums. They were gay, lively, amiable girls, fond of society, dancing, and amusement, and habitually received, when sitting by themselves or with their young companions, communications in harmony with their worldly and somewhat frivolous disposition. But to the surprise of all concerned, it was found that, whenever he was present, the messages transmitted through these young ladies were of a very grave and serious character, and on his inquiring of the invisible intelligences as to the cause of this change, he was told that spirits of a much higher order than those who habitually communicated through the 2 young mediums came expressly for him, and would continue to do so in order to enable him to fulfill an important religious mission. He was extremely interested in this message of a mission and wished to delve deeper. He discussed how he could ask for and organize a series of questions to get a more complete understanding of the spirit world with his wife. His wife, Emily, encouraged him to undertake this task. Given his background, he organized a series of questions that would be posed by mediums to spirits. Allan Kardec was not a medium himself. He was an inspirational medium, means he got ideas from people, but he did not communicate to the other world. So he used the service of various mediums to gather the information. He did not rely on one reply, but made sure that an answer to one question was seconded by another medium in a different location. Allan Kardec wrote 5 books: the Spirit books in 1857, the Medium's book in 1861, the Gospel According to Spiritism 1864, Heaven and Hell in 1865, and Genesis in 1868, each dealing with separate subjects, but at the same time overlapping in their complete description of the Spiritist doctrine. The first and most famous is the book that he was given the title by his spirit messengers. What is Spiritism? Well, the basic tenets of Spiritism are quite simple. 1. Love God. 2. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. 3. Practice justice. 4. Forgive all who offend you. 5. Make amends for our own wrongdoing. With this, the spirits reveal to us the basic facts of our existence. 1. Your soul is immortal. 2. You travel through multiple lives as a process to learn to love, be fraternal, and be selfish. The third, the goal of God is for every spirit to one day be pure. 4. There is no eternal hell. It is a station for souls who are materialistic and have an excessive love of self. 5. There are many levels of heaven. Heaven is not a place where we have eternal leisure, but one of ongoing work to help others. And lastly, life on earth is like a school. You are assigned events in your life, and how you react and behave will determine your spiritual progress. To add to this, in the 1930s in Brazil, the medium Chico Xavier began psychographing, which is the process of a medium writing under the direction of a spirit, messages and books sent by spirits. From the very beginning, he was told to always follow the doctrines of Allan Kardec. Chico wrote more than 400 books by the time of his death in 2002. Within these books, the spirits revealed information about Allan Kardec and the spirit world's plan for our future. The first was when Jesus referred to the Great Consoler, he was foretelling the arrival of the Spirit of Truth, which was codified by Allan Kardec. Secondly, for the earth to progress, the human race needs to understand that every action they do here on earth will have consequences in their next life. Third, the Bible was written by men under the influence of their beliefs and culture at their time. While the central spiritual message of love is eternal, the stories of the Bible, such as the earth being made in 6 days, are allegories and are not meant to be taken literally. Fourthly, we are being told this now because the human race is culturally and technically advanced to be able to accept these messages. 5. Spiritism is not meant to replace religions, but to supplement them with the knowledge of the basic doctrine of reincarnation and its purpose. And 6. The spreading and acceptance of Spiritism will enable the world to begin a new age where war is a thing of the past. And 7. The spirit world has planned these events and is guiding the earth through subtle interventions. And 8. At some time in the future, science will definitely prove the existence of a soul and an afterlife. With all of these, one can see the tenets of reincarnation has also been delivered to us via an alternative channel, that of the spirit world, communicating directly to mediums to alert us of a life beyond our single human existence. While all around us, people who have psychic abilities or those who have had NDE experiences are reporting the same philosophy of love and redemption through trials. Now that we have discovered Spiritism, what do we do? What do we do with it? How do we act? What should we find out first? Well, discovering Spiritism leads one to the feeling that you are on a roller coaster and are unable to get off. The more you read, the more questions you have when you try and find out where they could be answered. But at the end, you have a larger set of questions than when you started. The numerous questions could be separated into major categories. One of the most significant set of inquiries concerns the matter of your personal destiny. The discussion of the plan for your life on earth is scattered throughout Kardec's books and in books psychographed by mediums such as Chico Xavier. In Allan Kardec's The Gospel According to Spiritism, the starting point for understanding your trials is in this paragraph. And it starts as Christ said, "Blessed are the afflicted, for they shall be comforted." But how can we bless suffering if we don't know why we suffer? Spiritism shows that the cause lies in previous existences and in the destiny of earth, where humans expiate their past. It shows them the purpose of their suffering as being salutary, which leads to healing and which are the purification that ensures happiness in future existence. Humans understand that they deserve to suffer, and they find suffering to be just. They know that this suffering aids their progress, and they accept it without complaining, just as words accept the work that will ensure their wages. Well, that's the end of the quote, and I'm not sure about without complaining. But why is it important to understand our place in destiny? According to the quote above, we should gladly accept whatever is thrown at us with a smile and work our butts off to get through it. Well, except for the few of us that possess that perfect attitude of accepting all of life's vicissitudes, we need to first comprehend what is occurring so we can meditate on it and try and mold our attitudes that we may survive the ordeal as best that we can. Well, there is good news in all this. We do have free will. We can make choices. Although, I believe it is less than what is advertised in the books. Why? Because the spirit world wants us charging ahead in life as well as we're able. After all, you want to keep the troops motivated, don't you? The bad news, as stated in the beginning, is that you will be pained for your transgression in past lives. There's no escaping that fact. Again, I will repeat that. Unfortunately, there's no escaping the fact that you will go through trials and you will pay for your past transgressions. So here's the hard part. How do you combine the expiation of your sins with making free will choices and doing what you desire in life? Well, in the book Missionaries of the Light, psychograph by Francisco, also known as Chico C. Xavier, where Andrew Luis, the spirit author of the book, is discussing the intimate birth of a spirit whose name is Sigismundo, who undergo trials for his past wrongs. Andre asks about the plan for the spirit's life. He asks Alexander, who is Andre's teacher at the moment, and he replies, "Notice that I said benefit and not destiny. Many people confuse a constructed plan with fatalism. Sigismundo has the information we are talking about because nobody enters the school for a more or less long period without a specific purpose and without knowing the rules that he or she should obey." Well, that's interesting what he said. So therefore, we are all assigned a curriculum, a course of study in the college campus that suits our needs for our present life, a learning institution that is intended to move us to a higher level only if we are able to accumulate enough credits or we may be required to repeat. Andre probes deeper into the contours of the plan for Sigismundo. Andre wishes to know how the trials are matched up with the past sins of his future life and receives further information from Alexander, Andre's teacher. He says, "For that reason, the diagram of useful trials is drawn up beforehand, much like a student's workbook at a regular school. In view of this, the diagram corresponding to Sigismundo has been duly drawn up, taking into consideration the physiological cooperation of his parents, the domestic backdrop, and the fraternal assistance that will be given to him by countless friends from this side. So imagine our friend returning to a school, Earth, and in doing so fulfilling a purpose to acquire new qualities. In order to do this, he'll have to submit to the rules of the school, renouncing up to a point the great freedom he used to enjoy in our environment." Well, that's interesting. So they meant our environment as in the spirit world. We have more freedom in the spirit world than you do on earth. But hearing this, Andre is confused. He believes Alexander's description implies a fixed destiny, since a detailed plan is formulated and all external events seemingly factored into the plan. Alexander corrects him and says, don't fall into the error assumed by many people. That would imply an obligatory form of spiritual conduct. Of course, individuals are reborn with a relative independence and are sometimes subjected to certain harsher conditions for educational purposes. But such imperative never suppresses the free impulse of the soul in its aim towards advancements. Stagnation are a fall into lower conditions. There is a plan of spirituality, edifying tasks to be fulfilled by spirit to reincarnate, where their guides set the approximate quota of eternal qualities that they are prone to acquire during their transitory existence. The spirit who is returning to the physical realm can either improve this quota and surpass its superior's predictions by means of its own intensive efforts, or it can fall short and go further into debt to its neighbor, scorning the holy opportunities that have been granted it. Well, that is interesting. Therefore, I think we should think of our life like we are at school. A school we can't possibly escape until we graduate. Graduation is death, but don't think about that right now. In that school, we have classes we like and others that we detest or find extremely boring. In most cases, we sit and dread the possibility of being called to answer something. But like all things, the bell eventually rings, and we move on to the next class. We don't have the freedom to leave the school or the classroom for the time allocated to the subject. But we do have the freedom to either raise our hand and answer correctly with enthusiasm or slink in the back and mother something, hoping to escape that moment of terror. Guess which one gets you the better grade? So, what can you do about it? How should you handle difficult times? Periods of life where nothing seemingly works and there are no ladders to escape? Again, Alexander gives the answer. He says, every plan that is drawn up in the higher spheres has the good and ascension as its basic objective. And every soul that reincarnates, even one that finds itself in apparent desperate conditions, has the resources to continue to improve. So remember that. You all have the resources to improve, and you can all make it through everything. You are not set up for failure. Therefore, again, I'll repeat, feel certain that you do have the means to successfully climb out of whatever problems you are in. There are two important actions you can accomplish in any situation. One is to remember the golden rule, the basis of Spiritism. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. In fact, go further and actively help others if possible. The second is to maintain a positive attitude. In the book Action and Reaction, again inspired by the spirit Andrew Luis, and again psychographed by Francisco Xavier, also known as Chico, Andre wishes to know how an utterly bad spirit has any chance to improve themselves while they are in a difficult trial on earth. He receives this answer, and what he's told is this by Alexander. Let's imagine a monstrous criminal who has been segregated in a prison, accused of many crimes. He has been deprived of any freedom he would experience in an ordinary cell. Even in this condition, if he were to use the time in prison to willingly work for the well-being of the authorities and his fellow inmates, accepting with humility and respect the decisions of the law that is used to correct him, such attitude being the result of his free will to help or harm himself, in a short time this prisoner would begin to attract the sympathy of those about him, thus advancing surely towards self-regeneration. So therefore, hearing this, we can always do something. What we are being told is that the constraints of our fate is of our own making. Certain events and trials we must live through. Our only freedom is our attitude and love for others during these times. The less we have to pay for our past sins, the more freedom we gain to make choices to improve our souls. For those in the midst of painful trials, pray for help and forgiveness. But above all else, maintain a positive outlook and love and care for others. By this you'll have paid your debt and exceeded the expectations of those that created your plan. So how do we prepare for future trials? Because they are coming, and they will be coming until we're dead. So how do you build up the required strength to survive future trials? As in school, where there are periods between classes, there are periods between trials. These are the times to learn about Spiritism, participate in charity work, and ponder on why you have gone through the occurrences of your life so far. Again in the book Action and Reaction, Andre learns about a man who at 40 committed suicide. He learns that after years of suffering in the spirit world, the man is reincarnated. Andre is told that as part of the man's trials, he will have an overwhelming temptation to commit suicide again at the exact age in which he forsook his responsibilities the previous time. So think about that. Think carefully when you have great events in your life. Contemplate how you must have made the wrong decision in a previous existence and what steps you can take to improve. Andre asks, how can this unfortunate man resist the lure the second time? He learns that if this man has not saved up renewing and educational resources through learning and the practice of fraternity so as to overcome the inevitable crisis, it will be very hard for him to avoid committing suicide again. Because despite being reinforced from the outside, temptations have their starting point within us and they feed on what is already there. So therefore, this is not a new trial, but a chance for a retest. If you have studied hard and learned to live with others as you should, you will pass the test. After you live through it, rejoice in the knowledge you won't have to live through this type of event ever again. Our destiny, our course of study in our school on earth is not supposed to be tranquil. If it was, you wouldn't be able to advance. Take comfort that what you believe are tough lessons are nothing compared to what the truly failed spirits must experience. Pray for those who are in the middle of justly difficult lessons and learn to travel through years with a positive outlook. Graduation from the school of life is indeed death, which if you fully pass all of your classes could mean you are finished with earthly universities. But at least the reward for good grades in most classes is an even more fascinating life in the next, and an exciting and fulfilling job in the spirit world before it's back to the campus again. Thank you.